or good morning, depending on where you're tuned in from. We are on day 17 of Devotional Time for Mindset. Hey, Saint. Hey, Fatima. Hey, Kung. Thanks for tuning in. Listen, I am happy that you are here to join us on this 100-day journey of Devotional Time for Mindset. If you're tuned in live on one of the 8 different platforms we're streaming on right now, then comment live down in the comments and tell me where you're tuned in from, okay? Because I like to see how far it's reaching around the world. We've done had a couple different countries and all over the US. Hey, Desiree, thanks for tuning in. So comment live and let me know where you're tuning in from. If you're catching the replay later on because you're at work or you're in bed, then comment replay and still let me know where you're tuned in from, okay? This is Devotional Time for Mindset, and we are on day 17. Hey, Claire. Hey, Douglas. And this is our 100-day journey, helping us to understand the power of our thoughts and the life that we are creating for ourselves. On this journey, we are learning all the different ways that the enemy attacks our minds. Because listen, the devil knows how powerful our minds are, and he knows that if he could just plant a seed up in there, he can hold us back from walking in our purpose and enjoying the life that we are created to live. Hey, Melissa, good to see you back again. So that's why we're on this 100-day journey. We are here every day, same time, same place for 100 days straight. We started on January 1st. So if you want to go back and look at any of the previous days, they are available on the YouTube or the Facebook. You can watch the replays. All right. And this devotional is based on the book Battlefield of the Mind devotional book by Joyce Meyer. For those of you that are tuned in via video, you can see me holding up the book right now, Battlefield of the Mind devotional by Joyce Meyer. And if you would like to follow along with us as we go on this 100-day journey, then you can download your free copy of the book at mindsetmastersuite.com, okay? Mindsetmastersuite.com. And that's actually your hub for all things devotional time for mindset. If you would like to submit a prayer request, you can leave your name or you can do so anonymously at mindsetmastersuite.com. You can join me live because after I read the devotional, we are actually going to have a discussion and you can join me live. Just click the join live button at mindsetmastersuite.com and then you can come on and we can talk verbally, okay? And more than one person can join me live at once, all right? So if you see one face up here, don't think you have to wait. I can bring you all up at the same time and you can keep your camera turned on or turned off. It's completely up to you, okay? So let's get into how this actually works. Every single day, I will read the day's devotional from Battlefield of the Mind devotional by Joyce Meyer. And after I read the devotional, we're going to have a discussion. Simple as that. Hey, Teddy. Hey, Kay. Hey, Dee. Thanks for tuning in. Hey, Nancy. Good to see you back. Okay, we're going to have a discussion. And I don't want to talk to myself. I have no problem talking to myself. But in this case, I don't want to talk to myself. That's why I need for you guys to, in the comments or join me live, let me know your questions. Let me know your insights, your ahas, any comments you have. Go ahead and place them in there, okay? And please know that this is a safe space. All right. Hashtag no judgment zone. We are all here to support and encourage one another. So let's get started. If any of you are new here, let me introduce myself. My name is Lindsay Vertner. I'm a mindset expert, speaker, and actress, and I work with high achieving leaders to prioritize self without guilt. Specifically in what I call the 3 pillars of self, which is self-care, self-worth, and self-discipline, because those 3 pillars impact us in every single thing that we do at a subconscious level, okay? It is my purpose to help you create what I call your first class life, which is a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. So that's who I am. Let's get into this devotional after I read a few of these comments. We have, hey, Vicky is here from Georgia. Francine is here from Chicago. Tabitha is here from Indiana. We got Teddy in Michigan. Hey, hey, hey. Joyce is back with us. Let us know. We have Healthy is from LA. Thanks for tuning in. Nicole's tuning in from New York, and St. Caven is from Chicago. Good to see you. Ooh, we got Chris from Chicago. Chicago is in the house tonight. Hey, Kay, good to see you. Hey, Antonio. Who else? Who else? Let me see if I can scroll some of these really quickly. And I see you, Lisa. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, FYI, in case you missed it, we're streaming across 8 different platforms. So if I missed your comment, please do not charge it to my heart, okay? Like I said, 8 different platforms. It's hard to keep up with some of the comments, but I will do my best to catch every comment I can. So please continue to leave them, especially if you have questions as we start this discussion, okay? So let's get into it. Day 17 is all about no hope. That is the title for day 17, no hope. Okay. And in the devotional, it has an opening scripture. Then I read the devotional. Then it has a closing prayer. And then we go into our actual discussion. So let's get started. Day 17, no hope. Why are you cast down, O my inner self? And why should you moan over me and be disquieted within me? Hope in God and wait expectantly for him, for I shall yet praise him, my help and my God. Psalm chapter 42, verse 5. So the devotional reads, "What's the use?" Jeff said to me. "I've tried many times to work for God and to accomplish great things. No matter what I do or how hard I work, I end up failing." "I vowed that I would set aside time for God every day," Pam said. "That was my only resolution for the year." She shrugged. "It's now April and I stuck with my plan for about 3 weeks. I never complete most of the important things in my life." Jeff and Pam are only 2 examples of people who feel hopeless. They know what they want to do, but they still don't accomplish what they desire. There's no one way we can explain all failures, but both of these believers had reached a place of hopelessness. They were sure that they couldn't do it. "I've tried before and I failed," they each said. They saw no point in trying again. "Okay, so I try again and then I fail again," Jeff said. "I already feel bad. Why would I want to feel worse?" He didn't realize that negative thoughts and words were the cause of his own failure. Satan was there to attack and discourage him, but he did most of the work himself through an attitude of hopelessness. "I end up failing." Those were Pam's words. "I never complete most of the important things in my life," is the way she said it. By their own words, Jeff and Pam had prepared themselves to fail. And their words weren't the only thing that doomed them. It was the thoughts behind the words. Discouragement destroys hope. Failure easily leads to more failure. And once we allow our minds to say, "This is the way it will always be," the devil has won a victory over us. I urged Jeff and Pam to examine their thought life. For now, I urged, don't focus on the outcome or the result of your action. Go back to your attitude and your thought processes. As we talked, it became obvious that Jeff expected to fail. The devil had already enslaved his mind. Of course he had failed. He got just what he expected. The same was true for Pam. Both of them thought failure and focused on failure. They expected nothing else. They were afraid they would fail right from the beginning, and the Bible says that we fear what comes upon us. Ask yourselves, I said, what kind of thoughts have you been thinking? If we change our thoughts, we can change our outcome. Jeff and Pam both believed they would fail, but I wanted them to believe they could succeed. Jeff made great progress over the next few weeks. Whenever he started on a new project, he would say, "Things are going a little slow, but I am making progress. Yesterday was difficult and I started to feel discouraged. I even felt a little sorry for myself, but that was because I chose wrong thinking." The same was true for Pam. She said, "I now refuse to be discouraged. Last Tuesday night, as I crawled into bed, I realized I had rushed so fast all day that I had taken no time to spend with God, and I was too tired then." She asked God to forgive her, adding, "Help me not to give up." Pam realized that she had failed once last week and twice the week before. She reminded herself that she had been faithful the other days. That gave her hope. It's not 100% victory, but it's a lot better than zero. Both Jeff and Pam finally realized a powerful truth, and we need to understand it too. Jesus does not condemn us, we condemn ourselves. We allow discouraging, disheartening thoughts to fill our minds. Now we need to be aware that we can push those thoughts aside and say, with your help, Lord Jesus, I can make it. The closing prayer reads, Lord Jesus, with your help, I can make it. With your help, I won't be discouraged and feel hopeless. With your help, I can defeat every wrong thought the devil slips into my mind. Thank you for victory. Amen. All right, y'all. That was day 17 devotional. Hey, Tiara. Thanks to see you back again. Hey, Juanita. That was day 17 reading of the devotional. And now it is time to get into this discussion. If you're just tuning in, we are at devotional time for mindset, day 17 of our 100-day journey. Same time, same place for 100 days, learning about the power of our thoughts as we go through our spiritual walk together. So if you would like to follow along on this journey, you can download your free copy of the book, Battlefield of the Mind Devotional by Joyce Meyer at mindsetmastersuite.com. You see it on the screen or you see it in the description, depending on where you're tuned in from. You can submit prayer requests. You can join me live right now by clicking the join live button at mindsetmastersuite.com, and you can keep your camera turned off if you like to. No worries. Kay says it's about your thoughts and your words. The word says that your thoughts should be true, just noble. And it also says that what flows from your mouth is in your heart. You need to have true faith. Yes, Kay, I love that. She posted that as a comment on Instagram. I wish I could screen capture that and keep it in the comments forever. But that was a great thing. We've actually talked a little bit about that in our previous days, and I'm sure we will talk plenty more about that as we go on. So remember, hey, Tactical Imagination, thanks for tuning in. Hey, Shelly. So remember, mindsetmastersuite.com is where you can find all things devotional time for mindset, okay? So let's get into this discussion. Hey, Aunt Lisa, tuning in from Evansville. She says she made it. Congratulations. So, no hope. Now, I got some things to share with y'all about no hope. Hey, Tracy. Okay, have any of y'all ever watched Ted Lasso? It's on Apple TV. It's a fun show. I think they're in like 3 seasons or maybe 4 seasons. I kind of lost track because I haven't watched the very last season yet. But it's about an American coach who goes to coach soccer over in the UK, but he has no clue how to coach soccer. And actually, he's hired because the owner of the soccer team, him and his wife get a divorce, and the wife ends up with the soccer team. And so her goal at the beginning of the series is to completely destroy the reputation of this soccer team. So she very purposefully and intentionally hired a coach from overseas that knew absolutely nothing about soccer, aka football. Football if you live overseas, soccer if you live in the United States, okay? So he comes over, and yes, they kind of suck in the beginning, but as he's learning the way around and he's doing things his way, he actually starts to make a very good team. And what I love about this is because it has a lot of lessons in being unique and being yourself and accepting your flaws and who you are, walking in everything you're called to be, despite what other people think. And it also has a lot of positive messages because Coach Lasso, he often says that you have to get rid of your stinking thinking. So here's the thing about Coach Lasso. He has a lot of corny ways, but hey, I like corny because it ends up being hilarious. But he often says you got to get rid of your stinking thinking. How many of you have stinking thinking right now? Or have struggled at some point with stinking thinking? That means your thoughts is stinking up your behaviors, is stinking up your life, is stinking up your mood, all kinds of things. I know I'm not the only one that has watched Ted Lasso. Am I? Am I? If y'all have not watched Ted Lasso, I need y'all to go watch a couple episodes, okay? It'll bring you joy. So I wanted to share that with you because what happens when we have stinking thinking is that we end up having self-fulfilling prophecies because our thoughts influences our words and influences our actions, which influences the environment that we find ourselves in and the reality that we're creating for ourselves. Tabitha says she has. Oh, wait. Okay. Wait, I got it now. So you've had stinking thinking before, but you've never watched Ted Lasso. Got it. Well, it's okay because you're here at Devotional Time for Mindset. So we're getting rid of that stinking thinking, or at least decreasing that stinking thinking. So yes, our thoughts influences the life that we create for ourselves. Remember, we learned on previous days that the life you're living right now is the result of the thoughts you had 5 years ago. So you have to ask yourself, what life am I creating for my future? What life am I creating for my right now in this moment? Okay. And we've also learned in previous days that not only is the power of our thoughts in the word, it's in the scripture, but it's also in science, it's in nature. We talked about a book that was written back in 1902 by James Allen called As a Man Thinketh, all the way over 100 years ago. The same things, because why? There is nothing new under the sun. There are patterns in life that repeat themselves. The human behavior repeats itself. And so we can learn from these patterns and we can learn from the past and we can do better. And Lisa says, I haven't watched, but experienced it multiple times this week. Hey, Jennifer is back. Good to see you. Hey, Denise. Over here on, yes, Nancy says, I love Ted Lasso. It's such a good show, y'all. It's such a good show, okay? Y'all gotta check it out sometime. If you don't have Apple TV, maybe you have like a jailbroken Fire Stick or something, but I'm not condoning it. I'm just saying there's other options. So here's what happens when our thoughts influences our actions. Okay, we believe, let's say that we believe we are unworthy of something or unworthy of anything, and so we subconsciously, sometimes intentionally, sometimes we are fully aware of the behaviors we're displaying, but oftentimes subconsciously the things that we're thinking influences our behaviors in very subtle ways that only attract situations that further reinforce the thought that we initially had, which makes that thought more powerful, which only in turn makes those behaviors more powerful and attracts more situations that reinforce the truth of that thought. And so we have to be very mindful of the things that we're thinking. Hey, Diane. Are you guys following? Okay. And that's also called self-fulfilling prophecy. And that is where we think a certain thing, like we expect a certain outcome of a situation. And so then we intentionally or unintentionally behave in a way that makes that exact certain outcome come true, which only further reinforces the thought that we initially had that it wouldn't work out, or that you weren't worthy, or that you weren't good enough, or that you were going to fail that test. That's called self-fulfilling prophecy. And when we're experiencing this stinking thinking and these self-fulfilling prophecies, that is like a form of hopelessness. It doesn't equate to hopelessness, but oftentimes when we feel like that in a negative sense, because let me be clear, self-fulfilling prophecies can happen in the negative sense, which they often do, but they can also happen in the positive sense. Like if you expect good to come from an outcome, you will behave in a way that only creates good in that outcome to further reinforce the exact thing that you expected in the first place. So it can work in your favor or it can work against you. So let's be clear on that. Hey, Felix, good to see you back. Okay. It can be positive or it can be negative. All right. But it also can give way to hopelessness, which was the topic of today, having no hope. And there's some things that happen to us when we have no hope. And we often significantly decrease our lifespan when we feel like we have no hope. We increase our risk of depression. We increase our risk of anxiety. We increase our risk of cardiac arrest and heart problems and heart issues, because that's the same thing, heart problems and heart issues. We increase those risks when we feel hopeless. We increase muscle tensions and insomnia when we feel hopeless on a regular basis. Because remember, our mental state and our emotional state impacts our physical state and vice versa, because they all work collectively together. It isn't one has its own house and another has its own house and another has its own house, or all on separate blocks that operate independently of each other. No, they are all collectively in one house, i.e., your body, and they are working together. So if you're having issues in one area, it is inadvertently going to affect the other areas. So if we are feeling hopeless about a situation, we can bring on physical symptoms and physical sickness upon our bodies that only further have the potential to decrease our overall lifespan. Okay. So, y'all still here? Y'all kind of quiet today. Hey, Adam, good to see you back. Hey, Cher. If you're just tuning in, this is day 17 of our 100-day journey of devotional time for mindset. And if you would like to follow along with us as we go on this journey, you can download your free copy of the devotional, Battlefield of the Mind devotional by Joyce Meyer at mindsetmastersuite.com. Hey, Jason, good to see you. Okay, you can download your free copy. You can submit prayer requests. You can join me live right now. Just click the join live button and you can keep your camera on or off, completely up to you. And you can do all kinds of things. Okay, so let's get back into this discussion. And I need y'all to share your insights, share your comments, share your questions in the comment section. Okay. I want to share with you guys a research study, and I've talked about this research study before. Hey, Nessie. And usually I don't go into as much detail. I just say the main point of the research study and then I keep going because I usually am like giving a keynote speech or something like that. But today we get to talk more about this study because it has a very strong correlation with today's topic of no hope. Okay. So in the 1950s, there was a Harvard graduate that worked at Johns Hopkins University named Kurt Richter. And Kurt, he is like, you know what? I'm going to study some rats. Y'all stay with me, even if you don't like rats, because I don't like them either. But this is really good information. Okay. So Kurt Richter was like, I'm going to study some rats. And let me warn you, for anybody that may be sensitive, that this was a very savage and morbid research experimental study. Okay. So let me just put that out there because basically, Mr. Kurt Richter killed a whole bunch of rats in the name of science. Okay. So we just going to throw that out there right from the beginning. But this is what happened. He wanted to see how long it would take for rats to drown and what were the circumstances around them drowning versus around them surviving. So the first group of rats he took were domesticated rats. That means that they had been pets. They had interacted with humans on a regular basis. And he noticed that about 1/3 of those rats, when they were put in the tub of water with no way out, first, they swam around the surface, and then after a few minutes, they started to swim and explore the bottom of the bucket because likely, obviously, we can't read a rat's thoughts, but we can assume that when they couldn't get out at the surface, they went to the bottom to try and look for an escape route. And then within 15 minutes or less, those rats died. They ended up drowning. They gave up hope. Okay. And then the other 2/3 of the domesticated rats, they never went to the bottom. They stayed at the top, swimming around the surface, and they actually swam there for a couple days before dying. So Kurt was like, okay, this is interesting. Let's see what happens if we use wild rats. So now he went out into the wild and collected a whole bunch of rats that ain't never interacted with human beings and had the love and nurturing of a human. And he's expecting them to last even days longer because wild rats naturally are very strong swimmers because they have to survive in the wild. They have to feed for themselves and find their food and get through floods and get through rivers and all of that stuff. So he assumed that they would be able to withstand the water for a very long period of time. But once he put the wild rats into the water, he found that they also died within 15 minutes or less. So he was like, what is the difference? And he was like, well, maybe I'm going to hypothesize. That means I'm going to take a guess that the 2/3 of the domesticated rats have been saved or rescued or nurtured in some form that they had hope. And that's one reason that they never searched the bottom for an escape route, because they had hope that something or someone would come and help them out of their situation. Y'all still with me? Because it's we got some more to go and we about to bring it right back around to humans, okay? So just stick it with me a little bit longer. So Kurt was like, all right, okay, let me test my hypothesis that whenever there's hope involved, the rats will fight longer to survive than when there's no hope involved. So he went and collected a whole bunch of rats all over again. And he did it again, except this time he watched them because he did it one by one. He didn't put them all in a group at the same time. He literally watched all the rats one by one. And so this last group of rats, he put in there and he watched their behaviors because now he had collected enough data to identify certain behaviors right when the rats were about to give up and drown. Okay. So then this last group, he watched the rats and he watched for those behaviors. And when he noticed those behaviors that they were about to give up and die, he rescued them out of the water. Only for a little bit, not for a long time. He rescued them enough to like dry them off, give them some rest, just a little bit, like an hour or two, if that. Enough time for them to recuperate, rejuvenate their energy. And again, this wasn't for days upon end. This was literally a few hours or less that he grabbed them out of the water. And then he put them back in the water. And they survived up to 3 days. Did y'all hear that? Every single one of them in the third group, when he took them out right before they were about to give up and then put them back in, they survived even longer because he noticed that their behaviors of giving up hope were right within that 15 minutes or less all over again. Y'all still following me? Because it's about to come back around to us. But when he took them out and put them back in, because now they have hope, they survived up to 3 days. Every single last one. So what does that mean? They increased their risk of survival during life-threatening situations by 60%. 60. Do you hear that? This is how it correlates to the human experience. How many of us have felt like it's the end of the world in a situation? Like we just knew we weren't going to make it through something, like, oh my gosh, if I had to go another day in this situation. And we felt like we were going to die. Maybe some of us were on a deathbed. Maybe we were struggling with the illness and we literally thought we were going to die physically. But we had hope and we kept going, or somebody came in and helped us and then we kept going. We are just like the rats. When we give up hope, that's exactly where the enemy wants us to be. Because why? When we have no hope, we often have no reason to keep going. We often feel like it's the end. What is the point of trying? Because there's nothing that can help me. There's no one that can help me. I can't save myself. So why even try? It is here that I have to give up. And again, that is exactly where the devil wants us to be. Because if we're living in hopelessness, then we can't be living in happiness. If we're feeling like this is where the road ends, then we can't be walking in our purpose. Y'all still here? Y'all following? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? It is exactly where the enemy wants us to be. It is another form of prison. Think about all the people that commit suicide. And if you have ever had feelings or even attempted suicide, you are definitely in my thoughts and prayers, and know that we stand with you. We stand in support of you. But the fact that you are here right now means you are stronger than you think you are. And there is help, and there is resources, and there are people out there that want to help you keep fighting so that you don't give up hope. Because there are a lot of people that are no longer breathing that gave up hope. And they felt like the only way out was to give up on this thing called life. Everyone would be better off without me. Or maybe you gave up in your business and people weren't supporting you, or you didn't have the education, or you didn't have the capital, you didn't have the support. A business that God told you to start. And if he called you, he will equip you. If he gave you the vision, he will provide you the provision. But we often want to throw in the towel too early. When we feel that there is no hope, we do things to further reinforce that the situation I'm experiencing will never get any better. So I might as well give up. For some of us, that is as simple as giving up. And as I just mentioned, for some of us, it is a little more permanent. Over here in the comments, Karen says, hey, thanks for tuning in, Karen. Brittany says, this is good. Yeah. We had to go there a little bit tonight. Hey, Joanna. And so we have to be mindful. Is it really the end? Can I really not go any further? Because I can almost promise you, if you seek the right things and the right people, you can. And very specifically, I mean, if you turn and give it to God, ask for his help and ask for the things that you desire, he will guarantee to show you the way, or send you the resources, or send you the help, or answer your prayers. But we also have to be mindful to be open to how he answered those prayers, because we can hold ourselves in that hopelessness sometimes, because we might be very narrow-minded and laser focused on the answer to my prayer, my struggle, my issue, my situation looks like A. And that's it. And God might send the answer to that very thing that you prayed about, but it might look like B, it might look like C, it might look like D, F, Q, R, V, W, Z. And because it doesn't look the way we want it to look, we dismiss the solution that he sent us. Or because we're so focused on the wrong things, we can't focus on the way that he sent us, the way of escape, like we learned on previous days. Do you want to focus on being in the wilderness, or do you want to focus on the way out of the wilderness? Because we learned that God will always provide a way out. The question is, will we choose to take it or not? No hope. I highlighted some stuff in today's devotional. Satan was there to attack and discourage him, but he did most of the work himself through an attitude of hopelessness. We talked about that before. Satan only has to plant a seed, and he is very meticulous about how he plants the seeds and making sure it is unique to each and every one of us. And majority of the time, we will do the rest of the work for him. And he's just sitting back like he's watching Netflix. Like, look at these characters I done created. Oh, they crack me up. Look at all that stinking thinking they're doing. Look at that hope they're giving up. I'm so good. But we have to remind ourselves, he didn't create us. God did. And he created us in his image. Hey, Brock, thanks for tuning in. He created us in his image, that we are to live life. Over here on Clubhouse, Adam says, Satan lies. All the time. That's all he does. We learned that's all he knows how to do is lie. Hey, Iris, thanks for tuning in. Hey, Angela. Okay. Discouragement destroys hope. That was something else I highlighted in today's devotional. Discouragement destroys hope. Oh, that's a good one. Let me share a few other studies with you in case the rat study was not evidence enough, because there are a lot of different studies on hopelessness and despondency, which despondency is, it's like another form of hopelessness. It is the state of being despondent. It's a depression of spirits from loss of courage or hope. A depression of spirits from loss of courage or hope. So ask yourself, am I struggling with the spirit of despondency? Am I struggling with a depression from loss of courage or hope? And ask God to help you. Hey, Sexy P. Hey, Dr. Kimberly. So in Denmark, there were some researchers that found that mothers who have lost a child significantly increase their risk of also dying within the next few years. Now, I don't know if that was specific to Denmark mothers or if that included mothers all around the world, but that was a study done in Denmark. In 2012, there were some Swedish researchers that found whenever people are diagnosed with cancer, they significantly increase their risk of heart attacks, cardiac arrest. Hey, Tasha. And you might be thinking, well, if they have cancer, then of course they can have a heart attack because cancer affects the body. But nope, that wasn't what it was. Very specifically, upon being diagnosed with cancer, they significantly increase their risk of heart attacks. Just the news of the cancer, not all the impacts from the physical things that cancer causes, but just the news of the cancer. They hadn't gotten to the point where they was about to kick the bucket. Hey, Shay, thanks for tuning in. Brittany says, wow. Y'all know I like to mix the spiritual and the science because God made science for our benefit. Like, we don't always use it positively, but that's what He provided it for. Okay. And then those same Swedish researchers also found that the worse the diagnosis was, the higher the risk for heart disease. So let's say that they had level 1 a diagnosis of cancer. That's not how they call it. Level 1, that ain't it. But for now, we're gonna use levels, okay? Because I'm having a brain fart and I can't think of it. They have level 1 of cancer, then maybe it increased their risk of heart attack by 25%. If they had level 2 of cancer, then they increased by 50%. If they had level 3 of cancer, it was terminal, then they increased their risk by 75%. So the worse the diagnosis was, the bigger the increase of their risk of heart attacks, just from the information, just from being diagnosed, not even all of the problems that come with cancer. So again, the darkness from the diagnosis led to them feeling hopeless. Did y'all catch that? The darkness around the diagnosis led to them feeling hopeless, which increased their risk of killing themselves via heart attack. Because we already talked about some of the long-term physiological symptoms of living in hopelessness when we very first opened the discussion. If you're just tuning in, make sure you go back and watch the replay so you can understand some of those. Okay? So think about this. Even if you're not a sports person, I'm sure you've seen this at some point. Okay? I have watched enough sports games around all different types of sports, boxing, MMA, not too much of football, aka soccer, if you're tuned in from the United States. Regular football, well, not no, don't let me say regular football. American football, aka football like the Colts and the Eagles and the Cowboys and all of them people if you're in the United States. Football that you throw, the brown pigskin, versus football that you kick, the black and white ball. Basketball, definitely, I've watched a lot of basketball. And so here's what I want to share to you guys. Have you ever noticed that when a team is down by a significant amount of points, let's just go with basketball because my son plays basketball. And so I've actually seen this over the past season. So it's top of mind. Let's say at halftime, they're down by 40 points. And you can tell in the third quarter, the players are frustrated. The players on the losing team, they're frustrated. They're getting angry at each other. They're upset because they're down. And you can just tell that their energy, like at this point, are you even trying? Because they feel like there's no hope in catching up. But compare that to a very close game where maybe it's a difference of like 3 or 4 points. How hard do the teams fight to that final buzzer? The winning team is trying to fight to keep their lead or even increase their lead, whereas the losing team is trying to fight for those last few points, anything that they can do to tie the game and throw it into overtime or to get a game-winning point so that they end up winning by a point or two. And it is so nail-biting, like you're on the edge of your seat. So you see the difference? The team that gives up hope, even though there's a lot of time left in the game, you still got 2 quarters left, but you're already starting to throw in the towel because you feel like there's no comeback because you're 40 points down versus being 2 or 3 points down. The difference in how they fight to win the game, how they fight to keep on going. Dr. Rise, she's throwing up a trophy on Clubhouse. Have y'all seen games like that of both examples? Because I know I'm not the only one. Hey, Carmen, thanks for tuning in. Hey, Joyce. Okay, let me go see these comments on Clubhouse. Yes, Dr. Oz says, yes, she has. The difference, you can physically see the difference in their spirits, in how they're behaving. The losing team, whenever it's the 40-point difference, is doing that self-fulfilling prophecy. They see the score and they start behaving in a way that nothing I do is going to make a difference to bridge that gap and possibly win this game. And so because nothing I can do can win this game, I'm still playing the game, but I'm basically going through the motions until the buzzer buzzes and the game's over. And then I'm going to be upset because we lost by 40 points. And just like I said, nothing we can do. It was a better team. Hey, Anna B, good to see ya. But here's what I want to tell y'all, especially when we put our faith in God. But let me not jump the gun, okay? Here's what I want to tell y'all, because I have literally seen the team that is down by a significant amount of points, i.e., we'll go with 40, in the halftime, start to close that gap in the third quarter because they didn't give up despite what it looked like with their physical eyes. And by the end of the game, they won by 1 point. And so I say all of that to say, hey, Nitra, thanks for tuning in. Hey, Derek, good to see you back. I say all of that to say, don't give up. Put your faith in God that he can change your situation around in the third quarter, in the fourth quarter, in the last 30 seconds of the game. But we can't give up. We can't give up. We can't be hopeless and feel like there's no way out, because he's still in the miracle making business. And as long as we're doing what we're supposed to do and we have faith of a mustard seed, like we learned on previous days, we don't need a lot, just a little bit of faith to keep us pushing and keep us going. Adam says 100 over on Clubhouse. Oh, there we go. Jay says stage 1. That's what I was looking for with the cancer. Stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. Thank you, Jay. Y'all see? Brittany says, don't give up. Exactly. Because that's what the enemy wants us to do. He wants us to give up. Not only give up in our behaviors and our attitudes, but give up hope that there is no way out. But as we have learned in previous days, God will always provide a way out. Period, point blank. He will always provide a way out. We have to ask for help, ask for patience, ask for resources, take accountability for our actions, take accountability for our lack of action sometimes, be open-minded and open-hearted, because what he sends might not look the way we expect it to, and so we don't want to push it away just because it doesn't. Okay? Hey, Divine, thanks for tuning in. Adam has the hands up praising emoji. Brittany says, anything is possible with God. With God, nothing is impossible. We have to remember that God is the great I am. So if we take impossible and just put a little space between the I am and the possible, we have I'm possible. I am possible. And we are definitely possible whenever we trust in God. Good to see you, Royal Nephew. Thank you for that comment. Again, we have to be mindful of our thoughts, because Job 3:25 says, what I feared has come up on me. What I dreaded has happened to me. So self-fulfilling. You know, there's something that I sometimes say, and actually, I think I got it from Kung Fu Panda years and years ago. Maybe the first one, I think. Yeah, I probably did, because I feel like I got it from Kung Fu Panda. The little turtle sensei, Master Shifu, maybe. I think that's what his name is, Master Shifu. But He said, or I said, wherever it came from, said, often the path we take to avoid our destiny is usually where we meet it. Hey, Kyle's grandma. Mm. The path we take to avoid our destiny is usually where we meet it. And so this Job 3:25 just reminded me of that, because he says, what I feared has come up on me. What I dreaded has happened to me. And remember, we can't avoid the things we're feeling inside. We can face them, but we can't avoid them. We might think we're avoiding them, but they ain't avoiding us. We can ignore the feelings. We can ignore the traumas. We can ignore the negative experiences all we want. But they aren't ignoring us because they subconsciously show up in our behaviors. So we have to be willing to heal them and process them and understand them. Brittany says, not Kung Fu Panda. But there were some gems in that movie. Hey, listen, I am of the mindset that you can learn from anything. Young, old, new, old, funny, dramatic, thriller, movies, whether it's supposed to be serious. Yes. We can learn from anything as long as we're willing to have an open mind. Hey, Maxine. So that is no hope, guys. If we didn't learn anything else, we have to remember to get rid of our stinking thinking. Okay? Because the enemy wants us to be hopeless. Because whenever we are hopeless, we are not doing the things that we're supposed to do. And unfortunately, some of us will make permanent decisions from emotional places. Some of us will make permanent decisions from emotional places. And remember, you cannot create logical solutions from emotional places. It doesn't work. Two separate parts of the brain, and they don't operate at the same time. Brittany says, thoughts become things, good thoughts and bad thoughts. Master Splinter and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles be spitting too. Yes. Oh my goodness. Listen, y'all gotta get into it, okay? Hey, one is one. Y'all gotta catch these lessons. I don't mind watching quote unquote kid movies because they be throwing stuff in there for the adults sometimes. Yeah. But we can learn from children. We can learn from children's things. My children have taught me a lot of things over the years, with their behaviors, with their words, through me observing them in the things that they do. We can literally learn from anything and everything if we are open and willing. Okay? So don't be hopeless, y'all. Don't be hopeless. Remember, God will always provide a way out. It doesn't matter what we've done, He will always forgive us if we confess to Him whatever it is we might be going through, if we ask for His help, whatever it is we might be going through. I'm going to throw this one little last quick little tidbit in there. Adam says, nugget, whenever we are hopeless, we are not doing the things we are supposed to do. Thank you. Thank you. Please post your nuggets on social media, tag hashtag devotional time for mindset, and tag me too so I can come and show you some love. Any nuggets you get, any insights you got, please share them on social media. Okay. I would love to see them. And tag devotional time for hashtag devotional time for mindset. Tag Lindsay Bertner. Oh, yes. I was going to give you this last little nugget, and then we're going to wrap it up here. I would not be here in front of you today if I had given up hope. Hey, Santiago. I said, I would not be here in front of you today if I had given up hope in 2007. For those of you that have tuned in on previous days, you've heard me tell my story where I fully recovered, a full recovery. One more time. I fully recovered from being brain dead and paralyzed in 2007. Hey, Mandy. A full recovery. And if you Google what happens when someone's brain dead, everything you will find, 99.9% of all the things you will find will say there's no coming back. I see a heart from Adam. Royal Nephew says blessed. Hey, Dallas, thanks for tuning in. Says there's no coming back. If the body is still functional, it's probably functional on machines, but you don't come back from that. And the only reason they placed my body on machines was until my family could be contacted. So here I am minding my business, and I wake up an entire week later having no clue where I'm at, no clue what happened, to being told that I had been brain dead for the past week. And amongst the long list of injuries, I was also paralyzed. If I had given up hope in that moment, I would not be sitting in front of you today. If my family would have given up hope before I came to, before I became conscious, I would not be sitting here in front of you today. If the medical providers had given up hope, because for some reason, despite their education and despite what they saw with their eyes, with their physical eyes and their logical brain, and the things that they learned with their medical degrees, for some reason, they did not put me in plastic, zip me up, and called me not brand new. For some reason, they didn't call time of death. For some reason, they put me on a helicopter and lifeline me to a trauma hospital where, again, a new set of medical professionals had the same conclusion that I was brain dead upon arrival. Yet, for some reason, they still proceeded to do emergency surgeries and not call time of death. And the only reason they placed me on life support was until my family could be contacted. Now, if any one of those medical providers would have given up hope, whether they recognized it or not, I would not be here in front of you today. Now, once I was at the hospital, and I actually made it through the night and the next day, and my family was contacted and they were coming to the hospital, and my mom started having everybody praying. My family, they could have given up hope based on what the experts were telling them. She's probably not going to wake up, so we can take her off these machines at any point when you're ready. If they would have given up hope, I would not be sitting here in front of you today. But thankfully, I had a faithful mother, and she had a faithful support system, and I had faithful friends that were able to pray for me when I wasn't able to pray for myself. They were able to go to God on my behalf when I wasn't able to go to God for myself, which is a whole nother story about the importance of community and extended community. But if you don't have community, that is still not a reason to give up hope. You just got to put in a little extra energy to go find that community, okay? And ask God to send you community as well. So fast forward a week later, now I'm awake, now I'm conscious, and now they're telling me all the things that have happened and what's likely going to happen as I move forward in my life. If I would have given up hope, I wouldn't be here in front of you today. If this wasn't devotional, I would tell y'all take a shot every time I said if I wouldn't have given up hope. But this is not the games we playing today, okay? Don't take a shot. Don't take a shot. We'll do that on a different show, okay? We'll do that on the happy hour show. Hey, Dr. Malik, thanks for tuning in. So do y'all understand? Despite what things may look like right now, despite what the situation is right now, what it looks like, what it feels like. Hey, Patricia. Hey, Trin. What you think about the situation, We have to remember Romans 8:28. All things work together for my good according to his will and purpose. We have to have faith that despite what it looks and feels like right now, it will get better if I just hold on to hope. Because remember, let's take it back to the rats experiment. The rats that had hope that something will come and save them increased their risk of survival by 60% and lasted days longer as opposed to just 15 minutes before drowning. Hey, Rory. Okay. But in our case, we can't expect something to reach down and save us. We have to be willing to open ourselves up to being saved. How do we get saved? I'm so glad you asked. We turn to God. We invite God into our lives, is how we get saved. And if you're like, well, how do I do that? It's easy. Just say, God, this is what I'm going through. This is where I've been. This is where I'm trying to go. I trust you. Please come into my life. I accept you as my Lord and Savior. Please forgive me of my sins. Please, please, please. My life is yours. Simple as that. It don't got to be no big drawn out graduation ceremony or nothing like that. Because remember, we don't want to fall into perfectionism and end up doing nothing. And then we have to be open to how God instructs us, because we might have to do some things. We might have to change some things. We might have to let go of some things to be saved from our metaphorical drowning. Hey, Russell. And Lisa says, doctors are only practicing medicine. They don't have all the answers, even with the degree. No offense to anyone. They do not have all the answers. And I'm glad you said that. Real quick, one more piece to this story. So my general practitioner, so he met me after the accident. And hey, Bobby Joe. And I remember I was getting a checkup for something, and I don't remember what it was exactly. I think I was experiencing, maybe this was it. I was experiencing some illness, and this was like around the COVID time, but I didn't have COVID. I had like 50 million tests and all of them were negative, but I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me and all of these things. And actually, I don't think many people know this outside of my husband and my kids because they live here with me, but I was literally like bedridden for days and days and days. And anybody that knows me knows I don't really get sick like that. And usually if I am sick, I'm still up and moving. I might spend one day sleeping, but then I'm like right back at it. But this time I was like down and out for like weeks, and every time I would try to get up, I was lethargic. And so I was going to all the different, my doctors, and going to the ER and the urgent care and all of that stuff. And so I was talking with my general practitioner, and then I was like, you know what? I don't think we've ever talked about my medical history that maybe could be playing an impact in what's going on, because I had significant head trauma and spinal damage from that car wreck that caused me to be brain dead and paralyzed in 2007. And so I was telling him what happened, and the look on his face, y'all, the look on his face, he didn't believe me. He was like, paralyzed, brain dead. No, maybe you got it confused. And I'm looking at him like, I low-key wanted to cuss, like, excuse me. I was like, I know what I'm talking about. I lived it. I experienced it. Like, I know what paralyzed means, and I clearly have learned exactly all the things that go along with being brain dead and how that works, because I personally lived it. But he seriously thought that like I low-key was out of my mind. And I'm looking at him like, I know you might have doctor in front of your title, but I do have degrees on my wall, and I am a very well-educated person, and I did personally live through this experience. Let me go get you the names of the hospital that I was at so that you can request those records. So that you can understand. And so we have to be mindful that just because somebody has a title, they may, want all the best intentions for us, but we have to, respect their opinion, but also go to God and say, God, what do you say about this situation? And Lisa says, I trust God to heal me. And Brittany says, you don't know my life, doctor. Exactly that. That sounds like an exact phrase I would say, but maybe change the doctor to a B word. But, I'm working on my tongue, okay? We have to ask God. Now, listen, God will send us resources like doctors and therapists and things like that. So don't get that confused. I'm not saying don't go seek help and medical attention when you need it. That's not what I'm saying at all, because God sends those resources to us. All I'm saying is their word is not always the end all be all. Okay? Because there have been people that have been diagnosed with cancer that have made a full recovery and have been cancer free for years and years and years. There have been people, i.e., me, that have been brain dead and paralyzed that have made a full recovery despite what science said, and is sitting here in front of you today. So, yes, seek the experts that you need, but also ask God, what do you say about my situation and how I should proceed forward? And if I do need medical experts of some degree, please help me discern in choosing the right ones that are for me and for my situation. Okay. Hey, Ann. All right. So that's it. Yes, I see your exclamation points, Dr. Roz. God has the last word, says Royal Nephew. Absolutely. So we have to ask him, what do you say about my situation? Okay. And also, who do you say I am? Because we know the enemy will take credit, especially if we're feeling hopeless. He'll be like, look at that work that I created. I'm good. They want to give up. They said, forget their purpose. Forget all the things that God says they are. I created that. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And we just have to get rid of that stinking thinking. And if we need help, seek out the help that we need to get rid of that stinking thinking and say, who does God say I am? And what does God desire for my life? And how can God show me the way out of this wilderness? And guess what? You don't have to keep fighting for the whole rest of the year. Just ask God to help you make it to tomorrow. And then when you get to tomorrow, say, God, help me make it to Friday. And when you get to Friday, okay, God, I need a little help getting to Saturday, one day at a time. Actually, not even a day, one moment at a time, 1 second at a time. Royal Nephew says, who we are and who we are not. Dr. Roz says, wisdom with the purple hearts. You are loved and appreciated. Come visit Truckin' Hod's Way and Smile Genius Room. Yes, yes. One moment. One at a time. One moment at a time. All right. So that is where we are, guys. That's all the notes I have for you on this day 17 titled No Hope. Remember, with God, there is always hope to be had, and He will help us. We just got to ask Him for the strength, for the patience, whatever it is that we need to keep fighting, because we remember the enemy wants us to give up in all the ways. Give up physically, give up mentally, give up emotionally. He wants us to throw in the towel. He wants us to make permanent decisions from emotional places. Okay. Hey, Betty. Hey, Kayla. Hey, Bug. Make sure y'all go back and watch the replay. Brittany says, ooh, you don't have to fight for the rest of the year. Take it one moment at a time. All right, y'all. We've been here for 1:15. I love y'all. And what y'all not going to do is force me to create a Facebook community for Devotional Time for Mindset, okay? Or wherever communities are having communities these days. Y'all ain't going to force me. Y'all not going to bully me into making a group, okay? Let me say that. Yeah, so anyways. Day 17, that's a wrap, guys, on Devotional Time for Mindset. Brittany says, I love you too. Thank you. Absolutely my pleasure. Same time, same place tomorrow as we go on day 18. And again, if you want to follow along with us on this 100-day journey, then go to mindsetmastersuite.com. And that is where you can download your free copy of the book. For those of you on TikTok and Instagram, know that your comments and everything disappear whenever the live ends. But I do try to record it, but sometimes it doesn't record the whole thing. So I can go back and scroll and try and catch any comments that I may have missed. Dr. Roz says, Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit, activate. That's what that just reminded me of. Y'all, I'm starting to ramble because it's getting late and I'm getting a little kooky. Ooh, tell us about your book. Brittany, tell us about Joyce Meyer book or about Lindsay Vertner, First Class Life book? You say your, so I'm going to assume you're talking about this one. Or you mean First Class Life book? The devotional or the book? Which one? Which one you're talking about? Your book. Got it. Then I asked a follow-up question before you could answer the first question. I'll tell you about all the books. So there's actually a whole First Class Life suite of books. Let me see. First Class Everything. Look, I love you, Brittany. Thank you. Let me see if I have any pictures already ready to go. I do not, but maybe I can upload one really fast. No, I can't because it's not old. Okay, anywho, they're right here. So, First Class Life, when I introduce myself, I talk about helping you to create your first class life. And there's actually a whole suite of books. For those of you tuned in via video, you can see me hold them all up or attempt to hold them all up. But my foundational book is First Class Life. 10 key factors to creating a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. And after my wreck had happened, people would ask me, Lindsay, how did you make it through that? How are you living this seemingly beautiful life? How did you do that? And people kept asking me, and where can I buy your book? And I'm like, ain't no book. I'm just living my life. And then I started to really think and pray and put all the pieces together from my life, from my educational background, from the people that I've helped. And I was like, First Class Life. And so I put it in a book. First Class Life is actually an acronym, and it stands for all of the different characteristics and skills you want to embody into your lifestyle to be able to create a first class life. For example, the F stands for faithful. The I stands for intentional. Those 3 S's right there. Wait, I'm backwards. Those are my 3 pillars of self-care, self-worth, and self-discipline. So each letter of First Class Life is a different skill. And in the book, I talk about each letter and how it applies to our life and how it applies to the life we are creating for ourselves. Because remember, we're always creating our lives. And it's just a matter of, are you creating it intentionally or unintentionally? Because it's being created, and it starts with our thoughts. So I literally dive into that here. And then there's First Class Life Volume 1 and Volume 2, where other people are sharing their stories of how they created their first class life. Because I know that I am not called to everybody, and everybody is not going to resonate with my story. And so here I am using my platform and my purpose to help other people share their story with the world. Okay. So that's First Class Life Volume 1 and Volume 2. And then as a result of Devotional Time for Mindset Round 1 that was back in 2021, we have out of that First Class Life Devotional. 35 testimonies of phenomenal faith through turbulent times. Okay. And this is where 35 different people share specifically their turbulent times and how they got through it with phenomenal faith. How they got through it. A few of them were still in it, but they didn't give up because of their phenomenal faith. Okay. So all of my books are very interactive and give you space to reflect at the end of each chapter, because I know that people learn in different ways. And the foundational book has bonus downloads that go with each chapter, additional resources and tools. And then because I'm all about the more that we can incorporate all of our different senses into the things that we're learning, then that means the better we are going to understand it. And the better we understand something, then the more we can implement it into our lives and make changes for improvement. So I also have First Class Life Workbook, and this is based on the foundational book, and there's sections for each chapter. And because coloring can be very, stress relieving, even for adults, there's First Class Life, the coloring book. And again, everything in the coloring book and in the workbook play on the key lessons in the main book. Okay, so this is the tree trunk, and all of these other things are the tree branches, but they all feed off of one another. Okay, you can get any of them by themselves, you can get the whole set together. I even have affirmation cards, and my books, they actually ship internationally. The affirmation cards and some of the apparel, the First Class Life apparel and things like that, some of those can only be shipped within the US, but if you are international, you can definitely get my books all across the world for that. And coming this year will be First Class Life Money Management Workbook. Now, let me be clear. This is not a budgeting workbook. This is a place to manage your money so your money doesn't manage you. And it will have a whole bunch of different sections and keeping track with like your repairs and your credit cards and all kinds of other things to help you manage your money. Okay. It's not a budgeter. It's not a budgeting. It's called First Class Life Money Management Workbook. Money management. I said it backwards. And then lastly, also coming out this year is the First Class Life Spiritual Journal. Okay. Now, this will be a journal to talk to God. It'll be a journal to house all of your prayer requests in one section. It'll be a journal to write down any answered prayer requests, because sometimes it's hard to understand how far we've come when we've forgotten where we started. But then it'll all be in one collective place where we can look back and say, dang, remember whenever I was praying for financial stability, and now here I am 6 months later, and I don't have as much in my bank account, but I have been financially stable. And we can literally see the progress that has been made. So that'll be the money management workbook and the spiritual journal. Those will come out sometime this year. So stay tuned for those. Stay connected. Make sure you submit your email somewhere. Royal Nephew says, thanks for everything. Absolutely my pleasure. Thanks for tuning in again, Danny. Hey, Deborah. Hey, user 4706. Amen. It doesn't say your name, but thanks for tuning in. Hey, Carolina. Dr. Roz says you are live also. Lindsay, what's the other platform you were talking to? Oh, okay. I read the comments out of order. So, Dr. Roz, we're actually streaming on 8 different platforms. Clubhouse is the only one that doesn't have video, but all the rest of them have video. And some of them actually you can see the pretty graphics and everything, but on TikTok and Instagram, you cannot. If you go to mindsetmastersuite.com, you will actually see the links to most of them, like 6. I think of them. You'll see the links where you can just click on, like YouTube, or you can click on Facebook, or you can click on LinkedIn, and you can actually watch the video streams versus just hearing the audio. She says, awesome. No problem. Danny says, mad respect. So that is the whole First Class kit and caboodle. Okay. Mindsetmastersuite.com. Thank you for putting that site in the comments, Brittany. And actually, First Class Life Shop is where you can find all of the products. So there's books, there's affirmation cards, affirmations for spirituality, affirmations for motherhood, affirmations for leadership, and affirmations for self-worth. Those are 4 different lifestyle affirmation cards, is what I call them. Lifestyle affirmation cards for your leadership, spirituality, motherhood, and self-worth. 4 different decks. You can find all of the products at firstclasslifeshop.com. SHOP. Firstclasslifeshop.com. Okay. Hey, Mona. Awesome. Not normally up this late. Well, I appreciate you, Dr. Roz, for kicking it with us. And I pray that this was not in vain and that you were blessed abundantly for staying up with us. Thank you for putting that link in the comments, Brittany. Danny says you are on fire, and y'all are on fire because here we are, another 90-minute devotional time for mindset. Y'all, these aren't supposed to go past the hour. And I think the last 3 of them have been 90 minutes. Hey, Doreen, make sure you go back and watch the replay because I see you just popped up and I appreciate you. But I don't want you to miss all the nuggets that we talked about today. So I appreciate all of you guys for being on fire. Hey, Andrew, and tuning in and being engaging and interactive because I love talking with you guys and sharing the lessons that have been placed on my heart, that I have experienced, that I have observed, and I have studied. And remember, we are all in this together to support one another and encourage one another and help us on our spiritual journey. Okay. So same time, same place tomorrow for day 18 of our 100-day journey of devotional time for mindset, y'all. Okay. I love you. I'm praying for you. And I am honored that you guys trust me enough to guide you on this journey. And I do not take it lightly. Salute right back at you, Danny. All right. So see y'all tomorrow. Bye. End room on Clubhouse. Adios, TikTok. Oops, that's not the end button. There it is. And lastly, Instagram over here and all of the other platforms over here.